Welcome, Vianney. I'm happy to have you for an interview today. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you, Luke, for the invitation. Very happy to be there to talk to you about Bleass and our apps.
First of all, I have to tell you, I really love the Alpha Synth and your
Yes,
plugins. They're all of them. They sound good. You know, they just sound well. They're nice. So you're doing a good job, guys.
thank you very much, Luke. This is really good to hear because indeed we are a small company and we've just started less than 2 years ago. We've started the company less than 2 years ago with the idea of the Bleass Groovebox, which was our very first project at that time.
Yeah.
And now we've come a long way and I've released more than 8 apps for iOS since then. Yeah.
Can you just tell what are the apps that you have right now? You have the Groovebox.
Yeah, Bleass Groovebox is an app that aims at making music production, I would say, easier because it has a simpler approach in comparison with bigger DAWs like, Cubase or GarageBand. It comes from the main idea that making a great track is a good beat, a good bass line, a lead, and chords. This is why we've got those 3 instruments within the Groovebox, which have been essentialized. And as a musician, sometimes you want to have a more straightforward approach. And the iPad is a really amazing opportunity to have this simpler approach. But this doesn't mean that your music will be simpler, but you'll be more focused on the composition, because sometimes in big DAWs, you get lost with plenty of functionalities. You sometimes tend to add too much and add plenty of plugins when you should be focusing first on the bass sound and bass groove and the composition. So this is the main idea behind the Bleass Groovebox, first app we released in 2018, and which is still available free to download. And you can unlock plenty of features such as MIDI in, MIDI out, the FX and Synth, as well as the mix, and plenty of samples as well.
So that's the Groovebox. Then you have...
Then we released Bleass Delay, which is a AUV3 plugin, which has the particularity to offer a filter view and also has a frequency shifter, which really makes it sound quite unique. Then we released Bleass Reverb, which has a integrated ducker to have a duck effect, and also got this XY surface, which helps you to play live with the iPad feeling, if I may say. After that, we released Bleass Filter, which is also a rhythmic filter with LFO and envelope. After that, we released Bleass Sidekick. Bleass Sidekick is quite a unique instrument because it's an effect. It's kind of hybrid between, I know that you've presented it on your channel, and it's also a great video how you presented it. And Bleass Sidekick aims at generating a very, very big, fat kick sound, but also takes care of sidechain compression so that you can get that kind of gate effect, sidechain effect.
It is a kick drum generator. You can really design your kick drum. And it's also, like you say, a sidechain compressor, but without needing another source because it can sidechain for that kick drum that is within the same plugin. So this is really unique. By itself, it can create the sidechain without needing something else.
At the beginning of this year, we've also released Bleass Alpha Synthesizer, which is a polyphonic analog synthesizer. We really, really wanted to make an analog sounding synths because that's something we really like here at Bleass, and we wanted to bring an interface that is truly easy to understand. And it's still a very complex app, but we wanted to make it look quite simple. So it's also AUV3, but also available as a standalone app.
Yeah, I have some requests for that one.
Yeah. What could we improve?
More destination and sources for the modulation matrix. More modulation sources and destination. Like I would like to send my LFO to the envelope decay, but it's not in the list.
Yes, currently it's not possible on the envelope decay. You can do this by using external apps such as Rosetta, LFO, but it's not within the app. Yeah, you're right. I noticed it's a good request, and we've made some improvement quite recently because of the feedback of users like yourself. So thank you for mentioning this. Yeah.
Because I was working with it this weekend, and at one point, like, oh, I want to change that, and like I was looking for it, like I can automate it by MIDI, but I want it to be an LFO. I want it to change over time, and then not really sure when it's going to be where. It was part of what I wanted to do, so I finally draw the MIDI control, but then it's not random in the way I want it.
After Alpha, we released Bleass Shimmer, which is a shimmer reverb effect. Shimmers all have a different sound, and I would say this one particularly has a very particular touch, also has a input filter, Docker effect as well. We've had a wonderful feedback from the community with this one. After that, we wanted to complete our musician toolbox by releasing Bleass Chorus, which has up to 4 delay lines and visualization, which helps you understand your sound design. And finally, we are about to release Bleass Flanger. It will be out as you will release this video, I can imagine. So
I really like this XY pad that you control from the iPad. I have to say that I really like the interface of all your plugins and all your software, because it might sound stupid, but when I create using this, which is fairly small, you know, you load an audio unit in it, and it's a Model D from Moog, the knobs are so tiny. You can't, you know, I cannot use a pen with this. And I tried with my big fingers, and it doesn't work. And even sometimes I can't even read the letters because my eyes are getting old. But on everything that is Bleass, it's just like clear, because you're not trying to look like an original hardware piece. You're just having a software, and you have something that is, I would say, optimized to the platform. And that I really appreciate, because it sounds good, but it's easy to use. You know, you see everything, and you can just move your finger rapidly, and you see the feedback. When you move something, you see the graphic. When you play with the chorus, you see the 4 lines of chorus moving separately. You know, it's very visual. That is really
yes. We kind of aim at a kind of synesthesia, if I may say, because everything you do is linked to the eye and the ear, and as you underlined it, we do not want to mimic some hardware stuff. We wanted to make interfaces which are optimized for the iPad, for instance. And the idea of sliders, for instance, we use plenty of sliders, is something that we've started with into the Groovebox. We wanted big fat buttons, big fat sliders, so that you can have a very sensual approach to your music making. I always found that having too many knobs is maybe not always a good idea, especially on an iPad screen, because sometimes you will have to slide your finger like very, very far from what you're controlling, whereas we tend to use many sliders, for instance, or so that we have not this problem of having your finger going too far on the screen. So
yeah. Well, it was my reflection last week. I was talking with another, Synth users, and I was talking about the fact that one thing I don't like about the iPad is the knobs, because you've got a knob on screen, but you cannot turn it. You have to click and slide it. So it is a slider. Even if it's a knob on screen, it's a slider, because you're going to slide it. So it's kind of counterintuitive. If you're here on a synthesizer, that's a knob, and that's what it is. But if you're on software, you basically need a controller, or give me something that feels like my finger, or moving like this or whatever it is. Or if it's a knob, well, it should be a slider designed in a round, so it's still going to be turning. So and that's the one thing my mind keeps screaming is when I press a knob, but then I go up. A knob is for turning. You know, it's kind
Yes.
of my brain doesn't like it. It goes, nah, it's not the right
Uh,
thing. You know,
yeah,
and
yeah, it's
so I like
counterintuitive.
your approach because it's what you see does what physically you're supposed to. You know, it's a slider. It
Mm.
goes up or down. It doesn't go left or right.
We have a few knobs still because they are quite handy because still it saves space
Yeah.
and not all of the functionalities need a slider. But you're right. Yeah, too many knobs is not good for knobs, and especially for filters. For instance, it's also a touch and feel, approach
Yeah.
where you will definitely choose your resonance, how to set up your filter.
Well, yeah, you like playing the filter, left to right the cutoff, and top to bottom the resonance is like one finger, and you're playing around with the two values in one move. Whereas you would be playing two knobs on the real synth, a hardware
Yeah,
synth. So
yeah.
no,
For
it's
instance.
that's
Mm-hmm.
the I like it. I like the approach you took for this. For me, it's really efficient, and it brings me to the next question because that is dedicated to a a tactile interface. You play with your finger on it. Now, if I'm not mistaken, you have stuff for the iPad, iPhone, and Mac OS. But then when you get into
Uh,
the Mac, or you're coming to the Mac soon?
yeah, well, we are aiming, for instance, to release our apps on the desktop.
Okay.
So in the coming months, all of the Bleass apps will be available on both Windows VST and also Mac audio units.
Okay.
And we also are considering Linux in the longer time span. But in the meantime, Bleass apps should be released for the desktop VST. We will start with the effects and make them available on these platforms. We will use the same UI, of course. You will lose some of the cool interaction that you can have with a finger.
If you have a trackpad, you're going to be okay.
Yes, you'll be for instance, you can kind of mimic the iPad feel. But yeah, for filters, you will lose something by switching to the mouse. But well, after all, you can also use a mouse on an iPad since iOS 13, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And well, we will still keep the cool looking UI that we want to stay coherent, and those apps will be fairly the same on desktop. Plus, we've already been working on the possibility for you to make your own presets on the iPad and easily import them into your Windows or Mac VST so that nothing gets lost in the process.
That is right now. That's I'm doing a lot of that. Meaning I'm creating on my iPhone or on my iPad anywhere I am, and when I get home, I want to transfer that into the computer, and that transfer is always a little bit awkward because not everything is existing on the both platform,
Yes.
and not everything transfer your own stuff you made. So you're going to reload the software, but with the default plugin. So it's kind of a this has to be fixed. So thank you to work on that. So you're basically going to keep the same interface. I mean, it works with a mouse also. It's not
Yes,
awkward.
all the more that we do vector interfaces, so we also put a very big stress on CPU efficiency. The interface allows us to be quite CPU. How can I say this?
Efficient.
Yeah, CPU efficient, for instance, and this is also one of the strong points of the interfaces there.
Okay.
To do.
So now I've got one question about the evolution of the iOS, and I want to know from your standpoint as a developer, as a company. The company has been existing for like 2 years. What has been the most important change or technology or vision or whatever happened in the iOS in the last 2 years? What was the one thing that changed how you have to approach it?
Yes. One very good thing which came with iOS 13 is file manager, the file browser, which was a real mess before in iOS, and now you can truly more easily manage your files, imports. So the file browser within iOS 13 is truly a game changer, I must say.
Okay.
UV3 was there a long time ago, so I should not maybe mention it, but truly UV3 was also a big opportunity for many developers, as now almost every app that's been released is UV3 format.
Yeah.
I would say also that the choice to go towards USB-C on especially on iPad Pros, there are cons and there are pros. For instance, I still own a iPad Pro second generation. You've got the headphone jack, and this is priceless, for instance. So this is a mistake, in my opinion, to remove the headphone jack, because it was truly a very cool feature you needed for on-the-go music making. But one thing which is good with USB-C is that it's a new standard, and also you can power external sound cards without a power bank or USB hub, and you can quite easily plug a small sound card into your external sound card into your iPad Pro 3rd or 4th gen, and this is quite a good idea, in my opinion. Nice move from Apple to switch to a non-proprietary connection system. So these are the few changes that really truly made a difference for developers, in my opinion. But there is, of course, this big, huge change that is going to come in the next devices sold by Apple, because Macs, Apple Macs and iPads will very much look alike, all the more that they will be using the same chip. So this is a very great opportunity for developers to be able to easily offer their apps on both platforms, so on the iOS and macOS platform, with less work, I hope. We've been already experimenting with yes. For the moment, we are experimenting Rosetta 2, but like any technology, it needs some time to be mature, and it will take some time to be fully functional. So in the meantime, we will transpose our apps, which are natively coded in Swift for iOS, into Windows VSTs and Mac audio unit by choosing technologies that already made their proofs, technologies that are already deemed as stable and fully efficient. But I am very, very happy with upcoming unification of the Apple devices, Apple platform. It's really cool.
Some people told me that they were scared of the price. I mean, for the cost, when we're going to be, as users, buying apps. Let's say we buy a plugin right now on the iOS, the cost is fairly low, and people expect to pay low. They don't expect to pay $60 for a reverb, whereas on platform PC and Mac, people are not surprised to pay 60 and up for a good plugin. So some are scared that it will crash the price on the Mac. The user would be happy, but the developer would say, well, we don't make enough money anymore. So you've got these people saying, well, we're going to see. And the other side is users saying, well, it means that the iOS price will go up. And then they say, well, I'm going to buy less stuff because I won't be able to buy as much plugin because now I will have the money to buy just one instead of 4. So how do you have any type of vision on this?
Well, I could only guess, but it's important to know that as a developer, you can choose to make your apps available on Mac or not. So at the moment, all these apps are only available for iOS, and we will not make the same software, same builds available for Mac, because we want to use other technologies to be able to bring this. This is a first thing. Secondly, I think that we need to wait till the market truly starts. So it will be only beginning next year. We have to wait till people buy the new devices. And I think it will take some time, maybe 1 year or two, before we can see if iOS prices will go up or if it's Mac prices that will go down. But I'm pretty sure that there will be a meeting point between the musicians' needs and the developers, because of course, if developers don't make enough money, they cannot make more apps. So I think there will be kind of unification of prices, but this will take time. And I would guess maybe a price drop, general price drop, especially on the Mac platform, could be quite possible, especially if many apps which are 10 or 15 bucks still stay the same price.
There's also something, if I understand correctly, the iPad apps should be able to run on the Mac OS, the next version. That's what I understand. So
big sure, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it means that what you paid maybe $3 on the iPad should run on Mac OS. So it would work, and you would not have to have a Mac version, or it would be less optimized. I don't know. I don't know if it works with plugins. Because
this
plugins,
is something we are, yeah, absolutely. It should work. I cannot announce yet if everything works perfectly using the new Rosetta 2 technology by Apple. We need to take some time, but in the meantime, at Bleass, we've decided to use technologies that already work in the meantime. Especially because you have to make some adaptations when you go into desktop world, like everything which is file browsing, file management needs to be adapted to the desktop realm so that you can have a better preset management and all of.
My last question is, outside of the Mac OS and iOS and all that stuff, what do you expect, or how do you see the future with the technology that everybody's talking about, like augmented reality and artificial intelligence? How do you see this, colliding with the world of music production? How do you see this being part of it, or just being a fun thing that exists on the side?
Mm-hmm. Well, I haven't mentioned yet, but Bleass has been working with Jean-Michel Jarre, who is a famous electronic musician, but who is also a visionary and a pioneer. We've been working together to release his latest, if I may say, infinite album, which is called Ion. This app is already based on a algorithmic approach. It's not IA, it's not artificial intelligence, but it already offers a new generative approach to music. So even using, I would say, old recipes, you can create something new. And algorithm, for instance, is one way to go. The future of music, I would imagine it to be very hybrid. You have also opportunities with VR headsets. There are definitely new opportunities, new ways to interact with your music as a musician. You can find a way which is way more expressive than just a keyboard and a mouse to make music. And having this approach, this physical approach, which you have on the iPad, could be truly augmented and very interesting for musicians, especially in the VR. So I do believe in the VR future of music, and also generative music, but this is something that exists since quite a long time. I've been also very interested in various AI projects, such as Google's Magenta, but you've got also Sony, the company, who has also their own project. Sorry, I forgot the name at the moment. I could find it. Anyway, these projects are, for instance, through artificial intelligence, with machine learning. You make a machine kind of learn a type of music, and it can, after that, compose in the way you've learned the machine to do music. I think that AI can be a sidekick to the musician. Could be a companion because it can bring something truly new. And I imagine a future where the musician could also be a kind of curator. I don't know if it's the right English word, but a curator where you have plenty of patterns and music and melodies that are generated, sounds that can be generated by a AI that would know that would know what you truly like into music, and the musician would act as a curator. He would work as a artistic director and would simply choose, swipe, this I like, this I don't like. And this can be also a new way to bring new musical ideas. But I don't think that machines have a soul yet. So I think it's better, for instance, that you can feel the artist's soul through his music, his intention. And I'm not quite sure that machines alone could achieve this very human approach to music, because there is something into music that links us together, and I think it's also kind of linked to our humanity. You can truly feel emotions, and I'm not sure that in the future machines will be able to have the same complex emotions that we humans do.
Yeah, I heard at one point, I don't know from who, that all these tools that we have today that do AI or some type of intelligent analysis of what we do in music, we should see it as a autofocus on a camera, where today you take a camera, you take a picture, there's a face, I'm going to focus on the face. Oh, that face is smiling, it's going to focus on that face. And then you take a good picture. And then what you do, you're talking to people, come closer, whatever, and then you select what you want to take. But it is basically an assistant to help you have good pictures in even the worst situation, low light and all that stuff. And I'm pretty sure that these technology, AI, will be doing that for music. You're going to be recording something, and it's going to kind of enhance the recording. So even if a bad environment, it will get out of the noise out and bring the voice in, something like that. We will see these tools become very supportive, I would say, because I don't believe in the machine doing the emotion, but doing the technical stuff, and they're going to be really good at it. So for us, it's going to be easy to say, well, I want to have help in mixing, and it might. I saw 3 months ago, I was in a demo room, and they showed me a live console with AI in it. I said, what does the AI does? Well, if you play anything through it, by itself will say, oh, that's a guitar, that's a bass, that's a drum, that's a hi-hat, that's a voice. And then it will suggest EQ and compressor right away for these type of sound. So that's how it's doing right now. It's just supporting the mixer that mix live to rapidly be able to mix this stuff. So it's still going to be a human interaction deciding. But what they also do is in real time, they're analyzing, they're doing machine learning, everybody that's mixing on it. So on top of it, the mixer sees how people mix most of the time, and then we'll be able to suggest even more precise stuff. Oh, you're doing a guitar, but for rock. Oh, that would be your compressor. That could be your EQ, Oh, you're doing a voice for gospel. Oh, I suggest this instead. So it will be more and more intelligent in suggesting, but you're still going to say, no, that's not what I want. And then you can tweak it. But it's going to be this, I think, at least for the first period of this, is an assistant. A good one.
But until machines take over humanity.
Yeah, and then we have to fight for it.
But yeah, I like very much the idea of autofocus. It's a very good image because um, that's that's kind of what we are trying to achieve here at Bleass. We don't want to bring any more complexity. Music is not only for an elite of people who know sounds, synthesizers, or plenty of technical stuff. Music making should be straightforward as playing on a piano, and you shouldn't. And all musicians know this feeling when you have an idea and you get lost in all your cables and something doesn't work, and then you're hindered by the technical difficulties, whereas you should focus mainly on the creation and also your artistic choices. So it's truly interesting how you can augment the music experience as long as it doesn't become too normative. I don't know the right word for this, but what I would fear is that every mix would sound like this.
Yeah.
And this is kind of true sometimes in today's, may I say, commercial music. It very sounds always alike.
Yeah, but also
This
true
is up to
for
the
some
musician.
people. I remember listening to some producers and mixers, and everything they do sounds the same because it's their sound. So
Yeah, yeah,
it's not. It
absolutely.
doesn't mean it's machine. It's some people just have that way of mixing also to say I mix this way. That's how I sound, and it's their
Mm,
signature. But at the same time, it means that if you want a different sound, you're going to use somebody else. So there's different ways
mm.
to look at it.
Yes,
Well,
absolutely.
Vianney, thank you very much for your time. It was a pleasure again because we did some stuff in the past, and I'm really curious to see, and to test these apps on the computer now. And I'm
Yes,
curious to see what else you're going to come up with in the next weeks, months, years. Because what you do at Bliss, I really enjoy it. So keep doing
yeah.
what you're doing. You're doing it well.
Thank you very much, Luc, and thank you also for your support. It's truly it's been truly amazing to be working in the iOS music realm, especially also because of the good vibes of the community and all the good creations that comes of it. It's amazing to be working in the music realm. And thank you again for the invitation for this interview. Yeah.
And